Welcome to Truth is Freedom. I'm Dennis Cummins, and we are in our Q&A series. This is our last question. Jasmine, our social media expert, she's been submitting requests for questions, and today is a question. What do you have today for us?
Today, the very last one. How can you get out of a pattern of sin?
How do you get out of a pattern of sin? Go to heaven.
Simple as that.
You know, in reality, it doesn't mean that when you become a Christian, everything's perfect. What we do know is that there will no longer be any struggles when you get to heaven.
Right.
Okay. But we do know that we are going to face challenges, personal challenges. There was a guy, I think he was in his late 90s, and a younger man in his 50s was talking to him and said, "Sir, can I ask you a question?" He said, when did you stop struggling with lust? And the 90-year-old man said, "Well, son, I'll tell you when I get there." You know, it's a part of our humanity that we continually have to do is crucify the flesh. Mm. There's two mindsets. There's the one person that is running with what would be called a besetting sin, and that is something that they know is wrong, but they're covering for it. They're like, "I'm not going to get rid of it. No, it's a part of me. I'm hiding it, and I'm fine, and I'm not struggling with this. I've already tapped out, and I'm not going to give this up. Okay, I'm going to keep this in my life no matter what. I'm still going to go to church. Nobody knows that I'm dealing with this, but I'm still going to do what I do, but that's just where it's at." Then you have the person over here that says, "You know, I've got some weaknesses and I'm struggling with them, but I'm not giving into these. I am not going to be a victim to this and constantly just say, no, I guess it's just a part of who I am. No, I reject this." And, you know, say the person messes up. "No, I reject this." And so there has to be a constant fight and a constant willingness to overcome this. But I think there's accountabilities, and we're dealing with a lot of things that maybe was not so prevalent 10, 20, 30, 50 years ago. Mm-hmm. You know, pornography addiction, pharmaceutical addiction. There's so many other devices now. It's not that addiction is new, but there's just different forms of addiction. And
the temptation of it too.
And it's more provocative.
Right.
It's just way more provocative. So I think we have to guard our gates. You know, if you got an eating disorder, you got to guard your gates. Maybe it's your eyes, maybe it's your nose, maybe it's your mouth. If you have a lust issue, you got to guard your eyes. You have to renew your mind. You have to, again, this is a lot like the fear issue. How do you get rid of a spirit of fear? Mm-hmm. You have to change the atmosphere. And so if you're dealing with a besetting sin, if you're dealing with chronic temptation over the same thing, and you're trying to get victory over it, what do? You have to change your atmosphere. And I'll never forget my grandpa. He got born again, I think in his mid-20s. And he became a pastor, and he planted, I think, like 3 churches in Missouri. He pastored 13 churches in his ministry. Incredible. Very successful. But he used to smoke a pipe. And back then, you know, whatever people think about that today, but yeah. But he'd go out, he'd get so convicted about smoking that pipe because he was called in the ministry, and he couldn't be smoking pipe and preaching in the pulpit. Right. And so he'd go out to the cornfield and he'd throw that pipe out in the cornfield as far as he could. And about 4 hours later, he's out in the cornfield looking for it. That's kind of a war sometimes people have. You know, they want to, they have the best intentions, but then there's some additional levels, because it depends, are other people being hurt? You know, you spend a lifetime building your reputation and destroy it in one decision, you know? Yeah. So sometimes there needs to be more accountability put in place, maybe apps put in place, maybe counseling, group counseling. There could be a myriad of things, but if you don't change the atmosphere of what you're doing, you're not going to change. So you got to
Right.
change the atmosphere. Something different has to take place. And I'm telling you from history, people could be at the altar every Sunday, pouring their eyes out and sinning every day with the same struggle. And, just going to the altar doesn't fix it unless you get a plan and then you're going to carry out the plan.
Right.
And so, but the fight's real, There are people that struggle with homosexuality, but they know they're not homosexuals. They struggle with same-sex attraction. They're born again. They love Jesus. They're serving God, but it's something they have to put to death. They have to put it under their feet. Okay. There are people that struggle with opposite sex lust and attraction, and what do they have to do? And to stay in a monogamous relationship, they have to put it under their feet. Just because you struggle with it doesn't mean that's your identity. Okay. And, I was born this way. We were all born in sin. We all have proclivities. We all have natural things and our own bends. But just because it's a natural thing doesn't mean it's right. We're born into sin, and Jesus Christ died to destroy sin in our life and the hold that sin has over us. And so these are the things that we just need to be aware that we gotta have the fight in us, and we gotta have some people around us to have the fight with us.
Yeah.
So, well, that's it. That's the last of our Q&As for this sessions. And so thank you guys for being a part. Don't forget, like, subscribe, share, hit that thumbs up, and we appreciate you. Truth is freedom.